The objective of this video is to showcase the proof of concept that has been carried out for a client. We received a sample dataset from the client comprising the customers and transaction data. A CDD scorecard was also received to assess the customer risk assessment. The scope of POC can be summarized into three parts. Number 1, customer risk assessment. At the time of customer onboarding, screen the customer against sanction watch list. Carry out risk classification of customer using customer demographic details and match percentage against the watch list. If it's a high risk customer, then generate the case for enhanced due diligence in case management. The next item was on payment screening. All the payments that were shared with us, they were supposed to be screened for remitter and beneficiary details against the watch list. And the last item was AML monitoring, where all the transactions were to be reviewed for potential money laundering activities. We followed a structured approach and turned around this POC in just 6 days for the client. Now let me highlight that the requirements that were received from client were not standard. A customization was done where responsive screening service was fed into the CDD scorecard. All other requirements were fulfilled with out-of-box solution. Now let me walk you through with the solution. Here is the CDD scorecard that was developed in line with the client requirements. The scorecard comprises of 5 factors: occupation, nationality, screening match, PEP status, and residency. The screen here shows how simply the scorecard was configured and then weightages were assigned to different parameters. Now let me show how the scorecard was configured. Click on New Scorecard, give a scorecard name, a description, underlying data source. Since this is a segmented scorecard, segmented means if we are trying to create separate scorecard for individual and non-individual, we do have the option. In this case, we are just creating for individual. So select the segment variable and submit. Now we can create our own scorecard variables. Going back to the scorecard that was developed, here we created the occupation. As you would notice, it automatically takes all the values available in underlying data. Select the value and give it a rating against it. That way, we defined all the variables and their corresponding values. Once all the values are defined, click Next and then define the weightage. So for occupation 25%, nationality 3, name match 35, the total has to be 100. Now based on the final weighted risk score, a risk classification was done as low, medium and high, and this scorecard was executed at the time of customer onboarding. Here is dummy KYC screen that was developed to showcase customer onboarding. The branch officer captures the customer details and submits it for risk classification. Here is a sample customer where the available fields were filled: customer name, occupation, residency, nationality and PEP status. Once the officer submits it, it does a screening check in real time, checks it if it is present in watch list, and then immediately looks at the customer risk score. If the overall risk score is high, then it pushes into the case management. Now let's look at the case management screen. Here is the case that was created for this customer. Now if you look, this shows the file the case was created for, the customer information, the review date, it's for onboarding, the overall risk score, the risk category, and it also shows the underlying screening matches. Now this is all returned in real-time basis from the customer KYC screen, where it ensures the customer risk score if it's a high-risk customer. The objective of this case is for the compliance team to carry out the enhanced due diligence before onboarding the customer. For payment screening, all the transactions were executed in batch mode since there was a data dump received. The payments are otherwise screened in real time, where the customer channel will be integrated with the payment screening service. If a match is found, it immediately creates a case in case management for investigation. Here is AGP scheduler, which shows how these transactions were scheduled and executed in batch mode. If the match was found against remitter or beneficiary, the case is created in case management. Here are the cases When we executed the customer payment in batch mode, these cases were created. Let's take a look at a particular file. Here it shows if a match is found on beneficiary or remitter or against the beneficiary country, or anything is found suspicious in the purpose of transfer. It also shows all the historical transactions of the customer for effective decision making. Now let's look at the AML body. Here we have configured 3 rules in Business Rule Manager. One of the rules is multiple remittances. If a customer has done multiple transactions above a threshold in last 7 days. Second one is looking at multiple remittances to same beneficiary, and the third one is if there are transactions to high risk countries. Now, to arrive at the threshold, what we have done is we looked at the data, did a statistical analysis, looked at 75th percentile, 90th and 99th percentile, and then arrived at the threshold. This is a rule that was configured where we are looking at multiple remittances by customer exceeding certain threshold. If you look at, we ran this for last 7 days. This runs in a scheduled mode where all the transactions are analyzed. As I mentioned, we looked at the statistical analysis, so we picked up 99th percentile for the POC purpose. We are looking at if there are more than 3 transactions and the total transaction amount exceeds 500,000. If yes, then it triggers for a case in case management for investigation. Here is the case that was created. Here is the triggering transaction which triggered this case, and this also shows all the historical transactions for the customer. As you would have noticed, it's an integrated product suite where the same case management system is being leveraged and is capable of handling different types of cases. We saw cases for screening, we saw cases for customer due diligence, and even AML. All these applications are managed through iConsole for user authentication and authorization. All these AGPs for batch mode can be triggered through scheduler. So that showcases the capability of our product suite while fulfilling the client requirement. If there are any further questions, please feel free to connect with us. Thank you.